Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's segment on SAV, Subtle Asian Voices. For those that are not familiar with our channel, we are a channel looking really to amplify voices of the Asian American community on topics such as career, dating, relationships, mental health, and whatever may come in the moment. My name is Tiffany, and I will be your host today. Here with me, we have a very special guest by the name of Rob.
Hey, what's good? What's good? How's everybody
And
doing?
Rob is joining us actually from New York City.
Mhm.
And I'd like to give it over to him to give a quick introduction.
Hey, so hope everybody's doing well. Hope everyone's safe. Once again, my name is Rob Chen, and I am an actor, songwriter, and podcast host based here in New York City. Been doing this for a few years. So I just feel very glad and very blessed to be here on Subtle Asian Voices. Thank you for all the work that you guys are doing.
Perfect. And so our topic today is really life of an actor. But as you can hear, Rob wears many different hats and wears many different uniforms. So I'm excited to delve a little bit further on that with him. And this is actually not a live stream. I know in the past we've hosted live streams where we get to interact with our audience and answer maybe some probing questions. So unfortunately, we won't have the opportunity to do that here today, but please feel free to leave us a comment. We do monitor those. And we will also be linking you to Rob's channels and other contacts. So really looking forward to engaging in a discussion today.
Hey, super excited.
So first, since the main topic is life of an actor, I'd like to ask you actually, what is an actor? Can you describe some of the jobs or responsibilities? I know sometimes you hear actor, you think big movie star, or maybe you think someone
Right.
on TV, but from what I've heard from you, that's not it. There's more. So can you share with us what that's like?
Definitely. And first, thank you for that question. Yeah, I think a lot of people do have the idea of like, oh, being an actor means that you are a celebrity or you have done a lot of super big films. Every time I tell people that I'm an actor, they're always like, oh yeah, what kind of big projects have you been on, or have you been on TV? That's usually the case. But acting falls in so many different fields. It's not just film, it's also not just TV. It could be streaming platforms, it could also be voiceovers, it could be modeling. There's um even background work too, being a background extra or being a stand-in, which is you wear the same uniform as like the one of the leads of a TV show. Maybe you are the body, the double for that person for
Mm.
stunts, right? Stunt team, that's they're in a way they're acting too, because when the actor has to do a very dangerous scene, they are the ones doing it. So there's a lot of different forms of acting involved, and it all plays into the bigger picture of entertainment. For those who are curious in terms of like what that kind of looks like in terms of what the day in the life of an actor is, um, it's auditioning, it is memorizing
Yeah.
lines, memorizing scripts. A lot of people have the idea that acting is lying, but I would say it's actually the opposite. Acting is about telling the truth of the character.
Oh.
Yeah, it's about telling the truth of the story and the character, because at least for me, if I have to do an emotional scene and I have to cry, like I'm not thinking, well, I'm like, ha ha ha, and I'm just like, whatever. It's
Mm.
I really do feel sad, like as the character does. So there's a lot of truth behind it. And I think that's something that's really fascinating. It's something that always like pulls me into acting. Yes, of course, there's the entertainment value of you hear the applause and the the shocking moments too. Yeah, those are cool as well. But a lot of it comes down to storytelling ultimately. So
I
yeah,
I love that. I've never actually heard of that sort of explanation of acting. And it sounds like, when you're crying or really invoking those emotions, it sounds like you're really embodying the character that you're portraying. Can you share
right,
like how you do that? Like I wouldn't be able to cry on
right.
demand.
Yeah, so I mean, I get asked that quite often. Say if I'm at like a house party or something, they might be, "Oh, you're an actor? Can you cry on the spot?" They will ask me that question every
Party
once in a
trick?
while. Yeah, so it's some type of party trick, and I say I guess I can, but it wouldn't feel authentic. There are definitely a
Mm.
lot of things that goes in play for a very heightened emotional scene. So, for
Mm.
example, it's all depending on what the scenario is, what the given circumstance of that character and of that scene. So if the scene is like, oh wow, I just found out that my father passed away, and maybe I've been estranged with him. I haven't talked to him in years. Maybe I don't really know him that well. How does that affect how I react to that situation? Compared to if it's like, say, like, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me, and depending
Mm.
on how they broke up with me, right? Is it through the phone? Is it what they did? Did they cheat on me? Did they was it very cordial? How would I react to that type of situation? So based on that, I might have a different way of crying, or a different way of evoking
Mm.
anger. And it's never, and anger is a very easy one to be like, oh, anger is just yelling at somebody. But sometimes anger is repressed, right? It's
Yeah.
simmered down. Same thing with crying too. A lot of times in reality, most people don't want to cry. And what makes people cry even more is the fact that they're trying to suppress the tears. That is why we end up crying. And when we cry, it's an ugly cry. Right.
Wow. When you were describing all those different emotions and reactions, I mean, that's really reality, right? Like the
It
same
is.
news that one person might receive is could be a different reaction than if another person received that same news, simply because we've all experienced different things in our life which impact the way that we show our emotions.
Right. It's
Um,
as what Viola Davis said. She said in like this, I think she won like her Grammy, or no, not Grammy, but her Emmy or her Oscar award. And she said, I love this profession because we really get to celebrate what it means to live a life.
wow.
Yeah. So shout out to Viola Davis. Miss Davis, what's good? Never met you, but hopefully one day we will. Yeah.
You got to manifest it.
Got it. You got it. You know, you already know. So
So you
yeah.
touched a little bit about, why you enjoy what you do. Can you share more about what interested you in this career path? Is there like a story you could tell that, just like, wow, that day I knew I wanted to be an actor and this is what I'm going to do?
I didn't have that growing up. There never was
Okay.
that like, oh yes, I always wanted to be an actor. Like Leonardo DiCaprio was like, oh yeah, I always knew since I was 6 years old that I'll be an actor. But for me, that was never the case. I grew up in New York City. I've seen that there was Broadway shows and these big bulletin boards of different movies and whatnot, but I never felt like I could do it growing up. I felt like I was, in fact, I felt like I was in a museum where there's all these pretty beautiful exhibits, aka
Mm.
movies, TV shows, being an actor, being a director, being an artist. I could see it, but I can't touch it. It's like no photographs in this exhibit, that type of feeling of like I could be there to observe, but I can't be a part of it. And it wasn't until high school when I started to just do plays and musicals. And just one of my singing, like one of the singing teachers just said, Mr. Mayo, shout out to Mr. James Mayo. He said, hey, Rob, we're creating this new all guys a cappella group. Do you want to audition? I was like, I don't, I mean, I don't know if I sing. He said, well, do you sing? I was like, I sing in the shower. So just audition. And so I did, I got in. And then when
Wow.
I hopped on stage and I was like, ooh, this feels really nice. This feels really
Wow.
nice. Yeah. So that started it. But even still, I didn't think it was plausible. I didn't get a lot of support from family at that time. So I ended up becoming a business major. I studied business
Okay.
in college in Boston, and wasn't and at the school that I went to, Northeastern, we were able to do co-ops. So they're kind of like internships. So instead of going
Mhm.
to school, you work for like 6 months at a time. Through there, I worked at like different startups, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm glad I did that because it helped me understand what I don't want to do. So my senior year, I took this one class. It was called the Asian American Experience class, and it was all about like Asian American studies. And at the time, I was, oh, I know what I'm talking about. It'll be fine, you know. But then I got schooled. Like there's so many things I didn't know about our history, and that's when I realized, wait, I don't know about this. How many other people don't know about our own history? And what could be the best way for me or anybody to receive this type of information if they're not in college or if they're not taking this class?
Mm.
Well, it's got to be through stories. It's got to be through movies, plays, TV shows. So that's when I was like, you know what? Well, what do I like? What can I do every single day that I know I could be happy about doing that could also be beneficial for society? And so I said, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a storyteller. And so I said, I'm going to start off as an actor. because I did that in high school. I loved it. And I feel like by acting, I'll get to read a lot of great scripts. I get to know what the difference between a good script and a bad script is, the difference between a good director and a bad director, a good producer and a bad producer, because it's a very collaborative environment in the
Mm.
entertainment industry. So I started off with that, and then yeah, didn't look back ever
Wow.
since. Yeah.
That sounds so inspiring. Actually, the whole point about it being a collaborative experience, I don't think people really appreciate that, because when people
Mm,
watch movies, or like they think of the big movie stars, maybe they think of the director, right? Because
right.
their big name is out there, but there's so many other people in the credits.
So many, so
And
many.
so my question for you is this, because it requires such collaboration, who really like is the final say and the final product in terms of the idea? Like, what if people have different visions for what their project will look like?
That's a great question. Each part is so important, but I'll say if we're talking about the final one that says, okay, this is set to go, this is how we're going to do it finally, last bit, is the executive producer.
Okay.
Yeah. So the executive producer has the full say of being like, hey, can we embellish on this character, or maybe we should take this character out? They also could
Mm,
say, like, okay, like we want to invest in this type of story, right? That's the producer side. However, that being said, at least in terms of film, and like at least in film, it's the director that has the vision. But at the
mm.
same time, it's not possible for the director to be there if the writer is not there, right?
Yeah.
So at least in TV, writers are key. They are the king and queens
Mm,
because they create the blueprints for everybody else to create the architecture around the whole world. And then you have different directors who hop onto the shows to direct that specific episode. But then there's also writer directors, right? Writer, director, producers. They do all three, or
mm.
actor, director, producer, writer, like Justin Chan, who does all four, right? Then you could create your whole vision by yourself, and you are the key decision maker for whatever it is. So, but they all are involved. That's why it's so
Okay.
collaborative. Yeah.
The reason I ask this too is you mentioned you decided to get into acting to share
Mhm.
stories and tell stories, you know, and an actor is just a piece, right? It's kind of like the
Just one
paint.
piece.
It's like the paint in a painting, but then you
Yeah.
have like the artist and the brush and everything that
Right.
actually defines what the final outcome is. So do you
Mhm.
have like a goal? Like, do you think you want to be an executive producer to be able to, define what stories are being told? Or are you still like kind of in the learning processes here and trying to just get your feet wet in
I
that
mean,
space?
ultimately, yes. I want to be at that position of power to do so. As an actor alone, you don't have much power or much say.
Mm-hmm.
You have creative moments, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not your main thing. Your main thing as an actor is to serve the writer's vision, to serve the director's
Mm-hmm.
vision, right? So at some point, I would love to have my own production company where we get to tell stories of marginalized communities, whether it's not just the Asian American community, but also in the Black American community, the Latinx community, LGBT community, for women, international audiences. There's so much, Native Americans. There's so many stories that haven't been told. And so I want to be a part of that movement. I know I'm not the only one who thinks that way too. There's a lot of other people who are doing that. Even what you guys are doing is so important
Yeah.
and impactful. So thank you guys for doing that too. But yeah, I would love to
Yeah.
have that for
I
myself.
love
Yeah.
hearing all of these kind of perspectives from, just all the diverse people that exist. I know like Sav is focused on the Asian American community, but oftentimes we're stereotyped right into oh, you're
Too often.
Asian, so you're good at math, or,
Right, right.
even family pressures, right? It's like the
Mm,
lawyer, doctor, engineer is like
yeah.
the prized possession. But if you're
Yeah.
out as an artist, that can be like, how are you making your money if you're not a big shot movie actor, that type
Hmm.
sort of thing. So we really hope to, you know, expose people to the different stories that we have within the Asian community here.
Definitely. Definitely. That being said, it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy at all. There's a reason why they say, hey, do something in the STEM field. Yeah.
What would you say is the most challenging piece then? Following up on your "it's not easy" comment.
So yes, there is a financial aspect of it, of like,
Mm,
you never know when your next paycheck is going to be. But I'll say is less so not just a financial aspect, is more so the uncertainty. The uncertainty is so much a part of being an artist, no matter if you're an actor, a visual artist, a director. You never know if you're actually going to quote unquote make it.
mhm,
I think it's a little, I'm not saying that being a doctor or a lawyer is easy, because those are very hard professions also. But there is a very clear answer to that. It's very definitive. You get good grades, you take your MCATs, you go to
mm,
med school. You do well in med school, you go to residency. After residency or fellowship, and then you can become a licensed doctor, or you take the bar exam, then you become a lawyer. There's a formula to that, like 1 + 1 = 2. You go through this, you become that. For acting or for any type of creative work, there is no definitive answer. And you could ask 100 different artists, how did they make it? You're going to get 100 different answers. The only thing that's consistent is that they worked really, really hard on their craft and they stayed consistent with it.
mm.
Yeah.
That uncertainty can put some stress, right? And impact your ability to perform as an artist. How do
All the time.
you how do you balance that?
Um, I think for anybody who is considering to do this type of field, no matter if it's acting or any type of art, is to, number one, like, have a good support system. That is so important to have. I don't just mean like friends, but good family members too that you can trust. It's important to have that. They don't have to always help you financially, because a lot of us don't always have
Mhm.
that, but emotional support goes so far for that. So having good friends, very, very valuable. Also having stuff outside of your craft. So for me, not just acting, like,
Mm,
I need to have something outside of that to supplement my income, or to have another creative outlet outside from that immediate thing. If that one thing becomes my all in all entire life, then I get consumed by that.
mhm,
And I won't be as creative, because I won't be able to pull inspiration from other things in life.
mm.
You need to have something else too, another outlet for yourself. If everybody else's outlet is to go on Netflix and watch movies, well, we need some type of outlet too. We read books, or we go like hiking, or you do painting or whatever. Like, you find your thing. And then third, you got to take care of your physical and mental health. That is so important. And they're both are intertwined. You can't just think that you're mentally okay and then like eat junk food and then not work out. Like, you gotta work out, but then you can't only just work out and then like have a really toxic mindset.
Mhm.
It's both. Go see a therapist for people who need it. Please do. Yeah.
All of these points are so relevant, not even to the uncertainty of a certain profession, but I think they're helpful pointers for anyone in any sort of profession. I
Right.
definitely can relate to the piece of you think your mental health's okay, but your physical health is not okay. And I've done a lot
Right.
of reflection on what that looks like or what I want that to look like for me.
Mm.
Thank you, COVID, quarantine, and change of lifestyle.
Love that. Thank you, COVID. Thanks to the Rona. Thank you, Miss
Actually,
Rona.
speaking of COVID, how has that impacted your career, like, or your day to
Oh,
day, or like,
wow.
what has that done?
It really messed me up at the beginning. I'm not going to lie, because all productions were put on hold.
Mhm.
Every act, it was already uncertain to begin with. So then with COVID, it's like now we don't even know if this industry is coming back.
Yeah.
And if it does come back, would it even look the same as it used to? Right. So much uncertainty with things. No productions were happening. So I had friends who moved to New York and then they had to leave New York because they can't afford the rent.
Mm.
They don't have a paycheck. And for some of these actors, even their side hustle wasn't doing any good, because they are either in catering or being a bartender or waiter or waitress. The food industry got hit hard too.
Yeah.
Hospitality got hit hard. So if the industry got hit hard and you can't do that, and then also your side hustle isn't doing well either, well, then you don't even have any form of income. You're gonna have to go back home. So some of them had to go back home. It was really tough for a lot of us. And it made me reflect a lot upon my life, because previously I did put so much of my life into my craft. into acting.
Mm.
So when that was taken away from me, I felt like I lost a part of my identity. I felt very lost in terms of, well, what am I going to do? But I had to go back to meditating, working on myself, and it wasn't easy. Like I definitely dove into other things that I wasn't able to do. Like I was on my phone for so many hours. Like unfortunately, and maybe this is like a parent friendly show, but I ended up going into drugs for a little bit too, which is not good. Like
Wow.
yeah, so things like that where it's like, I mean, nothing anything hardcore, but like
Mhm.
I ended up doing that a lot more. I was trying to figure I was so lost. And the things that only really picked me back up was doing something creative. Because if you consider yourself an artist and a creator, then no matter what industry it is, no matter what job it is, whether you get a job or you don't get a job, whether you get paid for it or you don't get paid for it, your job is to create. So I was like, you know what? Acting right now is going to be put on hold. I'm going to start writing music. So I've been rapping, I've been singing songs prior to acting. So I was like, let's go back to it. So I ended up making like 8 music videos in that span of like
Oh,
a
wow.
year. And I released like a EP like early in January 2021. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I don't
So
know
that
many
was
people
fun.
that have. So,
Thank you. It was not easy, but I was like, you know what? If I feel this type of way, instead of just being frustrated and depressed
Mhm.
about it, let's express it using art and give it back to the world. Because that's what artists should be. We feel something, we express it, and then we package it in this thing called art, and then we give it to people. Because it's the
Mhm.
hope that somebody else could feel that way too, or could resonate and feel less alone in the process. So yeah, so that's what I did.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Honestly, that was a little bit how SAB was founded, right? We
Mm,
were removed from our I don't even know if they're distractions, but we've removed components of our life that we used to have in terms of socializing and connecting with people in person. And then we were basically forced into a new state of life. And so within that, it gives you a lot of opportunity to reflect, opportunity to
right.
create.
Hmm.
And so speaking of your EP, you're welcome to drop some plugs and shout outs at the
Oh,
end as
for
well.
sure.
I'm going to ask
Yeah.
you where we can direct our audience to reach your content.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you spoke a bit about the uncertainty in terms of finances, and then we also spoke about, the stereotypical Asian career path in terms of familiar expectations and even societal expectations or stereotypes onto the Asian community. How do your parents feel about you taking a more non-traditional career route? I mean, you went to college, so I think that
I
made them
did. Yeah.
happy, right? But then
Yeah.
you said JK, mom and dad.
Swerve, skirt, skirt. Yeah, it was funny, I would say. Luckily I do have a degree in business, so
Mhm.
I always know that I have that as a backup.
Mhm.
When I first told my parents about it, they're like, okay, sure, I guess, but what are you going to do? How are you going to do this? There's so much uncertainty, and which is very normal. I don't blame any
Mhm.
parents, Asian or non-Asian. It's really an immigrant mindset of, we come to this country for a better life. If you're going to waste it on something that's unpredictable, we can't support you with that. And that was something that like my mom didn't tell me this until maybe 2 3 years, like 2 years after I started acting. And that was something that she
Oh.
said. She says, to be honest, is like, I don't think it's bad that you're acting. Like ultimately, if you're happy, then go for it. But I was very worried at first because as your mother, I want to be able to provide as many opportunities for you. And this was something that I had no idea. I had no idea how to help you in this. We're not in this field. We know nothing about this. We're not from this country. We don't even know the pop cultural references. You're all completely on your own. And I'm like, but that's good. Like, as your son, as your like child, it's good that we're able to do certain things on your own. And I understand where you're coming
Mhm.
from as a parent. You always want to be there for them. And I think that was very scary for not just my parents, but for any parent who's like looking at their child and be like, oh, you're doing this. We're not sure how to help. Because it's
Mm.
so uncertain, not just financially, but literally anything could happen. I could be talking to you right now, and then tomorrow I might get an opportunity to be on this Netflix show, and
Yeah.
that would completely change my life if that were to happen. Or that opportunity might not come for the next 10 years.
Mm.
I wouldn't know. That part of the uncertainty, more than just financially, just that sheer uncertainty is what really like makes people very wary about it. So at first I was met with some backlash, not backlash, but there was some disappointment in it for
Okay.
sure.
Resistance.
Yeah, definitely some resistance, but it wasn't like, don't ever do this, I hate you, I'm going to disown you. But it was like, okay, I guess you got your degree, so, but give yourself a timeline, like,
Mm.
right. um but then after I started to get my first paycheck from
Yeah.
acting, I think that really solidified it for my parents, because then they're like, oh wait, okay, I guess you could make money doing this,
Because they haven't
even
seen
if
it done before, right?
they haven't seen it done before. They also don't
Mm.
know how much money you could make. So I would do, for example, like there was this one audition I remember clearly where I didn't book the role, but I was auditioning for a McDonald's commercial
Mhm.
voiceover. I had to say one word. It was timber. That's all I had to say.
Okay.
Just for that one word, for saying timber, I would have gotten, if I got the role, I would have gotten paid 5,000.
Wow.
Yeah, for that one word.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So from that, they're like, wait, what? Like, so all you gotta do is just book a few of these and you're set for like the year. Right.
You practice your timber after that?
I was practicing my whole lumberjack session. I was Paul Bunyan for a whole day.
Do you get
Yeah.
dressed in character to help you feel more in character?
Yeah, definitely. Well, not for voiceovers. Voiceovers is more chill,
Okay,
but
okay.
for self-tape auditions, yes. I think wearing something that resembles the character helps put you
Mm.
into that mindset for sure. Definitely. And it's a lot of fun. It's like when we're kids. When we're kids, we do dress up or pretend we're having dinner with the Queen of England or whatever it is, like, or you're just lava and there's a dragon. Like, we really believe it, and it's a lot of fun. So getting back to that fun childhood like instinct is what you need to be an artist.
It
Yeah,
it sounds like it's fun, actually. Probably more fun than some of our corporate business jobs out there.
it is fun, but there is a lot of challenges. Like, one
Mm.
thing I always admire about the corporate business side is that, hey, you guys have a steady income. You
Mm.
guys have healthcare. Because as an artist, most of us aren't on a salary. We're not paid yearly. We are on a contract to contract basis. This is gig work. So we
Mm.
don't get the 401ks. We don't get healthcare benefits. We're going job after job. And even after you book one job, you're not guaranteed that you're going to book another job, right? Immediately. You're going to have droughts where like for 3, 4 months, nothing's hitting. And then out of nowhere, you book two things,
Mm.
right?
That raises a good point. Speaking of the whole healthcare thing, right? Because that's the life of many entrepreneurs out there. They're not hired
Yes.
by a company that provides benefits. And so they have to basically provide their own benefits.
Right.
And this was actually a point made on a different SAB interview that we have. We have an
Mm,
interview called Life of an Actress, where we have an
word.
actress in LA sharing
Mm,
her experiences. So we can link that for our audience to
word.
check out as well. But she made a statement that, being an actress is really like being your own entrepreneur. You got to hustle.
Yes.
Can you
100%.
can you reflect a little bit on that and share what your perspectives are on the entrepreneurship piece?
So I was talking a lot about the artistic side for a while, but there
Mm-hmm.
definitely is a business component to it because you are
Mm-hmm.
the product. You have to sell yourself. So what does that mean, right? That means you need to have a website. You need to have a reel, your portfolio that showcases what you're capable of doing, the different roles that you've played. You need to have good
Mm-hmm.
headshots. So you're gonna have to invest money in a decent photographer. Not, and yeah, you could get your friends to take your headshots, sure, but you need somebody that knows what they're doing. What does it mean to get a good professional actor's headshot? What does it mean to have different looks? Okay, this is your more business look. This is more of your bad boy look. This is more of your nerd look, right? Like,
Mm.
you're gonna need that. Who are you talking to? Like, how are you going to get in contact with the casting directors? How do you find an agent? How do you find a manager? Where do you submit if you don't have any representation, right? What kind of plays will reflect your type? So a lot of it is knowing your audience too, like an entrepreneur, knowing what your product does. Okay, if I am this type of person, say I giving myself, I'm an Asian guy, I stand at 5'8" on a good day. So chances are I'm probably not going to be like Shang-Chi, who's like 6 feet tall, really, really muscular.
Mhm.
But I know what kind of characters I could possibly play. So I got to use that to my advantage. And then there's also, okay, well, what do you do with social media, right? Sure, I can have a
Oh my
private
gosh.
account, but in this day and age, if you're trying to be like an actor, it's almost impossible to just have a private account and just leave it at
Mm.
that. Like, so many people are getting discovered through YouTube, through Instagram, and now through TikTok. So being able to post regularly, posting behind the scenes pictures of, hey, I'm on set doing this, or here's a skit that I wrote, I'm putting it out for the world to see.
Mm.
Somebody might find that, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe 6 months later, maybe 2 years later, and say, hey, we want this guy for this like one episode for a show that we're doing. Happens all the time too. But it's about putting yourself out there. How do you market yourself? Right? Everything has, and what does your image look like? Right? That
That can
persona is
be
crazy. Yeah.
that can be so overwhelming, right? Sometimes I think about all the different tools and platforms that exist for us, and we just keep coming up with new ones. You don't know what's going to be the next big one, right? I don't think TikTok knew they were going to blow up until they blew up.
Yeah.
And so, how do you kind of manage and strategize which platforms to use, right? You're only one person. I don't think you
Right.
have a whole crew underneath
No,
you to like manage
definitely
all of
not.
your content. Yeah. So you can only do so much, especially if you're prioritizing your support system, your mental health, your physical health. Yeah. Which platforms are you on? And is there a specific strategy you use to market yourself in that way?
Right. One, I think it's important to know who you are as a person, because that will affect what platforms you end up on. If you have more of a writer's background, I definitely think like something like Twitter is actually not that bad of an idea, because it's
Hmm.
all, you're trying to fit all your thoughts in 140 characters, or you create a thread. A lot of journalists are on Twitter. A lot of writers and authors
Mm.
are on Twitter. The hashtags makes it really easy. The retweets make it easy for you to post somebody else's quote, or for somebody to post your quotes.
Mm.
That's an example of that. Now, if you're doing something like, say, like hair and makeup, right? YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, anything visual components, those are going to be great for you, right? Um, Now, the thing about Instagram used to be a place for pictures, not anymore. It's not so
Yeah.
much for pictures as much as they're trying to promote IG Reels, just like TikTok would. So what I do is that I focus more on my TikTok now. I have a TikTok
Mm.
where I started posting more consistently this year, and I like it. I like it a lot because I get to see what other people are doing. I see the trends, and I'm okay. This is a fun dance, or this is a fun voice bit. I'm gonna do my version of this,
Mm.
right? So that I can still have creative freedom to express myself artistically. I don't look at it where like, oh, I'm here to promote myself, as much as I'm like, okay,
Okay.
this is my vision of this. This is my creative take on this trend that everybody is doing this. Well, I'm gonna do it at this location, wearing this type of shirt, and I'm gonna do it my way, you know. And I went from like 340 like followers in April, and now it's October. I have over 5,500.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Sounds
this is
like a good growth.
yeah, not bad of a growth. All organic, didn't have to pay for any of
Yeah.
that, right? So I had to know like which platform works for that. So I was like, okay, so TikTok seems like I'm getting a lot more engagement. IG Reel, and I've used that same TikTok videos and I posted on IG Reel,
Yeah. I've
right?
seen them.
Crossovers, why not? But it's different because on IG Reel, like I get more reach. So I have like one video that I
Mm.
did where I did a vlog of like seeing Shang-Chi for the first time with my friends. That got over 300,000 views. Crazy. I was like, what the hell? Like, where did this come from? But the engagement wasn't that high.
Okay.
A lot of people see it, a lot of people like it, but not a lot of comments compared to
Yeah.
some of the stuff I have on TikTok where the engagement was really high. So I always look at engagement. I don't look at just plays.
I see.
Yeah.
You sound like you could definitely consult on social media branding just from this little blip here because of your experience and, kind of trial and erroring some
A
of
lot of
your
trial and
content.
error. Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error, but I think ultimately, no matter who you are as a person, I think branding at the end of the day is not just about, oh, hey, let me just push myself out as far as I can for everybody to
Mm.
see. That's just mass marketing. Branding is how you make people feel, right? When you hear ba
Okay.
da ba ba ba, I'm loving it. You already know what it is, right? You think of Starbucks, you feel some type of way about Starbucks,
Mhm.
right? You think of Marvel, you feel some way about Marvel. You think of Pokemon, Pokemon's a brand too. There's a certain aura you get from Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
So you as a creative person also has a certain flavor about you that you should embrace, you know?
I do
Yeah.
have a question about brand though, because I mean, I know you do a lot of other type of work aside from pure traditional acting, right?
Yeah.
But as an actor, I feel like in some ways you're a chameleon because you have to shift, different roles,
Yeah.
presuming you don't get cast into the same roles, right? But you have
Yeah.
to shift into different roles. And so is it hard to like have a brand in mind when that's part of your job to shift?
That's a great question. I think our brand is constantly shifting because our voices are constantly shifting. Who we are
Mm,
at the age of 25 is going to be different from who we are at the age of 30, naturally so. Even outside of acting, a lot of YouTubers and influencers, they're constantly switching their brands,
that's
right?
true.
You look at some guy named Timothy Chaturangsu. Well, he first was named Timothy De La Ghetto,
Mhm.
but now he goes by Timothy Chaturangsu, and we have to respect that, right? So, and now he posts his content he posts now is still him, but it's different content that he posts. He shifted, you know?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with any type of person. And
Mm,
I have for a long time, I've been trying to figure out what do I represent? Because I've been fed over and over again this business mindset of like, you got to be niche. You got to find your target. You have to be niche. Be very specific about your target audience, man. And I'm like, no
it can
offense, but
pigeonhole you.
it will definitely pigeonhole.
Yeah.
Is how, I mean, yes, if you love Korean dramas and all you want to talk about is Korean dramas, then go ahead, be the expert on Korean dramas and watch and just make the latest reaction videos for Squid Game. Do it, like go
Mhm.
for it. If that's what you love and that's all you care about, then do so. Do so. But I like more than just one thing. Like I
Mhm.
don't only watch anime shows. Like I'm gonna listen to music. I don't only listen to hip hop. I'm gonna listen to R&B or jazz every once in a while. I'm not only an actor, like I'm gonna do podcasts as well. Like, so then what it becomes, who am I? Well, then me is
Mhm.
not defined by necessarily the jobs that I do or necessarily my interests. The me becomes, what do I give off to people? What type of impression do I give off? So mine became more about, okay, I'm gonna be a little bit more positive, upbeat, inspiring. Because ultimately, I learned this from somewhere. I don't know who I learned it from, but I think just from seeing all the different research and content from years. And I realized that good content at the end of the day will get around.
Mm.
You could talk about hashtags, you could talk about like, oh, have a title at the top and subtitles for your videos, make it more accessible for people. Yes, these are tips and tricks. But ultimately, good content is you're either inspiring people, you're educating people, or you're entertaining people. Is one of these three or is all of these three? If you have that, then you got good content. And eventually it'll come around. Oh, and then time. You just need to have time to do it. Keep posting and being consistent. And then people will see what your brand looks like. You can't have a brand with just
Mm.
2 posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start having a brand after you have 500 posts.
And it could also
Yeah.
be tricky too if you limit like what sort of posts you put out there, right? Each one has
Yeah.
more weighting. And
Yeah.
so you think the whole trial and error piece, right? There's not too many trials for you to figure out where your errors are.
Yeah, one of my friends went through the same problem where she kind of blew up on TikTok, ended up having like 50,000 followers,
Mhm.
and her main thing was doing like K-pop, like no K dramas,
Mhm.
or and like doing K drama esque skits. And at a certain point, she was like, "I'm running out of ideas." So she now pivoted to saying, "Okay, I want to sing more." So, all right, girl, like do it. Like if that's all you
Yeah.
want, do it and do your version of that. People will love you for who you are, and before they even love what you do, they gotta love you. It's gotta be, hey,
Mm.
like, I love what Tiffany has to say because I love who she is as a person. So then whatever she does put out, they're going to mess with it. They're going to like it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Really, I really feel your authenticity too, also in our discussion. So I really appreciate, you
Also,
sharing some personal parts of your life with us and your experiences overall within would you say it's the entertainment industry? Is that how you would?
Yeah,
describe
it
yourself?
definitely is. Yeah, I am in the entertainment industry. Of course, if I want to be really hippy dippy, I'll say, well, I'm just an artiste, sure. But yes, I work in the entertainment industry. Like there's no denying that. So my schedule is very crazy, and I my Google Calendar is my Bible.
Well, really do appreciate your time here with us. And I appreciate you blocking out time, right? Your busy schedule to chat with us.
Thank you.
But before we log off, I would like to give you an opportunity just to like one final message you'd like to share with our audience. For anyone who might be thinking about pursuing this career path in the future, you gave us some tips and tricks on how you got inspired and started some of the challenges. What's one final inspiring message you'd like to leave with our audience?
Oh, pressure. One, just one.
Or two or three,
Okay, well,
whatever you're comfortable.
we'll keep it with one. And the question is, for anybody who's interested in pursuing a career in the entertainment industry, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Um, I would say really know the difference between something that you like as a hobby and then doing it as a career. When it's a
Mm,
career, it's different from just, oh, I like it. There's a lot more at stake in terms of how you present yourself and what you do on your day-to-day basis, right? You're not going to, and you shouldn't expect that, oh, right when you start off being an actor, that you're going to be on some hit TV show. Maybe yes, but 99% of chance it's a no. And I'll tell you straight off the bat, like my manager will submit me for all types of different roles, and 95% of the time, I don't even get an audition. Out of
mm,
the 5% of the auditions that I do get, I hear back from maybe 0.5% of those. This is just generic numbers, but it's to show you how much it takes to even get to that one role.
mm,
I could talk on specifically about if you want to be an actor. So if you do seriously want to consider yourself to be an actor, well, number one, as how my teacher would say, if there's anything else you would rather do it. Don't be an actor. Because what it takes to be an actor is so much patience, so much time, so much effort. If you
mm,
say, oh, if you say, okay, I don't want to do anything else, I love to act and I want to try it and give it my all. Okay, you want to give it your all? Take some classes. Learn how to memorize lines quickly. Learn what it takes to do a self-tape. Buy a ring light so you could light yourself up. Get a camera. Know how to break down scripts. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, remember to have fun. Because a lot of times we look at it like an industry. It's so much businessy. How do you sell yourself? How do you
mm,
market yourself? If you get too into that, then you might as well just be a producer, right?
mm,
Don't be an actor, because being an actor requires you to be very light. It requires you to be in the moment of the scene while the director is yelling cut and saying, hey, why'd you do this? Move the lighting way here. And sorry, we got to move parts here. Zoom, 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 zoom. We got to create the set right now. Oh, hey, by the way, we just changed the script on you. We literally will flip the script on you. Hey, now you have an extra
What?
monologue. You have 2 hours to memorize this.
Wow.
How do you stay zen? How do you roll with the punches? How do you still remain to have fun? So if you're a kid and you love to pretend and do make believe and do all these characters, remember that. That will help you as you go on, and know that there's going to be ebbs and flows. That's part of it. But just keep swimming, just keep swimming, and you'll get
I
there.
love that. You
Yeah.
got some practical pieces in there. You got some, inspiring pieces in there. Really
Yeah.
appreciate that message.
I saved it for when I am going to be a keynote speaker or a guest for graduation. Is that the
Got to manifest it.
balance of practical and the ideal, right? Yin
I love
yang.
that.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to wrap up at this moment. Rob, if you'd like to give some shout outs or some plugs, this is
Mm.
definitely the time to do it.
For sure. Definitely. First of all, Sav, Subtle Asian Voices, thank you guys so much for having me on board. Thank you, Tiffany. You are awesome. Thank you so much for that. I want to give a shout out first to you guys for just having this platform. Shout outs to you guys. I want to give a shout out to Apex for Youth. I'm a volunteer for there. So they are a nonprofit organization in New York City where we help low income families, usually below the poverty line. And we usually focus on immigrant
Mhm.
families. We focus on middle school, high school, and even elementary school. And we have mentorship programs, after school programs. I just want to give them a shout out because I'm one of their mentors as well. And I just want to say they do an incredible job. So for all the mentors out there, keep slaying it. If you want to find me, you can find me on Rob Chen here. So at Rob Chen here on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're curious about my music, I go by the stage name Blue Haiku, BLUHYKU. And you can find me on YouTube for that. So
Perfect.
yeah.
We'll get all of those links in our description here. So, with that, we will be wrapping up today's segment. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Rob, so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
glad.
You were so busy too. Thank you for this. You're a full working person too.
And
Yeah.
we will catch you all during our next live stream or pre recorded session. Thank
All
you all.
right.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you.